I know every owner can't do it like this, but Robert Kraft grew up in Greater Boston. He's a Patriots fan. He was a season ticket holder before he owned the team, listens to talk radio, reads the Boston Globe, that kind of thing where it's just all about the team, and goes to the games, went to the games with his sons and really got into it. It was part of the ritual. And so now, even as an owner, yes, he drives to the stadium every day. And you mentioned the draft thing, and there's a balance, because I think early in his ownership, he did go too far. And Bill Parcells didn't like it, and that famously led to their divorce. But he's still in there. He's in the draft room, not just on draft day. He's reading the scouting manuals and the scouts' takes on all these players, and he'll ask questions at the end of the season to coaches. Hey, we didn't do this year. What do you think about that? And it's not meddling, it's investment. And so does every owner have to do that? No. Because does every owner have to, if you're the owner of the Broncos or the owner of the 49ers, doesn't mean you had to grow up in Denver or grow up in San Francisco to really be a good owner. But I think you have to have some level of investment and some level of knowledge of what's happening. And you got to be able to lend your support first to the people that you've hired and let them know you're available. And if they're not doing the job, then you come in. But Stephen Ross is clearly disconnected, not only from his team, but from the pulse of South Florida. You got to be able to feel it. I think you got to understand why your fan base is so frustrated, and what leads to their frustration, what leads to their joy for your team. And I think you have to just jump in there. You got to be a little bit more involved, Mike. And so it's to hear that he's in New York and not really a part of the organization, that kind of explains why they keep going in circles.
And I guess the key is this: if you are going to be involved, you have to be involved in a way that respects the skills, abilities, and experiences of the people you've hired to run your football team, so that when you do ask questions, you're not interfering, and they're not perceiving that question has a message in it as to what the owner wants you to do. That is the greatest obligation, I think, for any owner of an NFL team. Don't impose your will through the asking of questions, through your involvement, through your presence. And I think some owners do that. Some owners are too present. Some owners are too involved. Some owners are too insensitive to the messages sent by their words, by their facial expressions, by their body language. And that prompts people working for them not to do what they think is the right thing to put a winning team together, but what they think the boss wants them to do. It really is a challenge. And look, I think the most successful owners are the ones who admit their ignorance, recognize It's not nearly as easy as it looks on TV. It's not nearly as easy as it is to play Madden, and commits to figuring out what it takes to be a successful football operation. This is why, folks, get used to the Denver Broncos being an elite team that is present in the playoffs, that is competing for championships. Get used to it, because they have ownership now in the form of the Walton Penner Group, where Greg Penner, the son-in-law of Rob Walton, who was CEO of Walmart, and who knows how, a true captain of industry, who knows how to figure out how to run a business. They have shown up and they have figured out, they've cracked the code on how to run a business. And it's a combination of setting ego aside and just focusing on what does it take to be successful, and trusting the input from the people that they've hired for the purposes of becoming successful. How do we run this business in a way that makes money? Well, we know that. Just show up. Just don't even show up. Just sit back. The money side of it's going to be taken care of. The question is, how much of that money are we going to reinvest in the football operation? Are we going to put in a new grass field whenever a new grass field is needed, no matter what it costs? The Broncos do that. They have a high-quality grass field that whenever there's a doubt, they do it proactively. They don't wait until they're hearing that hey, man, the grass, it's a little rough today. No. They schedule it. They know when to put in a new grass field. They protect the investment in the players. We talk about that all the time. Why do these owners not want to protect the multi-million-dollar investment they made in the players? Are they that penny-wise and pound-foolish that they don't want to protect the investment in the players because they don't want to have to spend the extra money that we don't need to spend? We don't have to spend this. There's so much of that goes on in the NFL. It's one of the reasons why the officiating stinks. They feel like they don't have to have full-time officials. It's an expense that we can avoid. There are expenses that you can't avoid. There are expenses that you can avoid. And I think one of the reasons the Broncos are going to be successful is they are embracing expenses that you, in theory, can't avoid, but they're spending that money in an effort to make the football team as competitive as it can be. And that's the thing. You have to be willing. It's a business risk like anything else. You have to be willing to spend that money and eat into your profits with the idea that this will lead to more profits down the road. Short term, it's going to cost us. And there's no guarantee it's going to work, but we'll do it. And it helps when you have unlimited cash like the Walton Penner Group does. So that's an example of somebody who's doing it right. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.